I've been messing around. Hey, it is Friday. It's the 11th, Veterans Day. Oh my gosh. Thanks to everybody who has taken care of us over the years. A few really interesting things going on around here. I might get to more of that later. We've got a couple things I want to talk about today. The first is... No, I'll get back to that. I'll tease you first. Hopefully you recognize what tune I was messing with there. Does that chord progression sound familiar to anybody? I got a request to finish a lesson on that I apparently started, that I remember starting many times, many years ago, thinking, yeah, well, that's up there. I did that long ago. The original. I will play the original a little bit later. I do have it dialed up there on the sheet. I used to play it the way I heard somebody else play it. The song that, of course, is running through my head is Death Don't Have No Mercy, but that originally Gary Davis tune. I first heard it on the first Hot Tune album that had opened up with Hesitation Blues, had Uncle Sam Blues, all kinds of great stuff on that album, including that. A few years later, realized that also the Grateful Dead had done it in a version that, when I first played it, I did barely recognize it because it was so slow and spacey. It was really cool. I think it's from one of the Live Dead albums. Maybe the one with the skeleton on it, which could be 15 of them, right? Anyway, got a request to put a lesson together on that the way Gary Davis did it, and I thought, I know I've done that. I've done a whole bunch of Gary Davis tunes. What is that? Sally, Where'd You Get Your Liquor? We got Cocaine Blues. Got, I'm pretty sure I did a lesson on Hesitation. Sally, Where'd You Get Your Liquor? She's Funny That Way. Anyway, all those Gary Davis tunes are really cool. And what the heck, now that I've been talking about it, here's how Davis's original went, according to the book. Okay, I got to do a lesson on that because it's not really that hard to play. Really fun to play. There even is a guitar break on the next page. This is the Gary Davis book I'm looking at. Wait a minute. There's a chord people are going to complain about. Gary Davis had an easy time playing a chord that most people are going to find really, really difficult. Didn't mean to turn this into a whole... I really want to talk about pentatonic scales. I got to get to that in a few minutes because that's today's practical tip that we got to get to. A bunch of my students have been working on tunes that are working on their pentatonic scales. Okay, didn't mean to get off on this Gary Davis tangent so much, but man, it is fun to play Death Don't Have No Mercy. So remind me if I forget in a week or two that I promised I would get to a lesson on this. Hold me to it. Anyway, fun progression and great tune to play. Before I get to the lesson on pentatonic scales, I got to tell you about some really exciting news about life here at Totally Guitars. We've gone through some kind of structural changes. Nothing is going to change as far as what you've seen going on out there. But it is, there are less people involved right now, and there are 4 of us on board, and I want to make sure that everybody knows all about all of them, because many of them have been around for a long time. There's, of course, me. Then we have Jamila, who has been involved with us in the past, and is kind of back on board, helping out with a lot of stuff. She used to be our main support person, so I want to welcome Jamila back into the fold. And then 2 other people who have been... what is the word I'm looking for? I can't live without them. Alessia, who is our main support person. So if you've ever had, now our main support person, if you've had any problems, she takes care of you and has been doing a fabulous job. And our main tech guy, Naz, who I could not live without. And the 2 of them, Naz and Alessia, are in Ukraine. Relatively safe right now, but everybody keep them in your thoughts because we need them around to keep TG running the way you've hopefully come to know and love it. Anyway, I just want to make sure that everybody knows the welcome. There is the team, 4 of us, whittled down to minimal. It's fabulous. Anyway, now I want to get to my big tip for today. This I'm going to try to keep this short, but the first thing I want to do is, if you haven't seen it, or that my lesson talking about pentatonic patterns and scales, it's part of the fundamentals thing. I don't know what number it is. There's 7 of those, fundamental 1 through 7. It's got to be one of them, and I'll have a link to it down here below. But in a nutshell, you learn pentatonic patterns. Sloppy. Okay, we learn those 5 patterns that I number 1 through 6, and all that is explained in the lesson on pentatonic scales. And so I've got a lot of students that have been working on memorizing them, and memorizing them kind of vertically. Here's pattern 1, here's pattern 2, here's 3, here's 5, here's 6. That's how you number them. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. And but then it becomes like, how do I use them? What do they sound like? So I had one of my students first just playing his G major scale, then playing the same thing, leaving out the 4th note, no C's, no F sharps, no 4th, no 7th. There it was. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. That was all. That was my G scale, 2 octaves without any C's or F sharps. get used to that sound. You've heard that before. Here's what it sounds like on C. That is a pentatonic run used in bluegrass stuff all the time to wrap things up. You can make it a little more, threw in a chromatic note there. That one happens in a lesson I just did recently. Glenn Campbell, Highwayman. It ends with a pentatonic run with the addition of one bluesy note between D and E. It plays an E flat or a D sharp. So, but what I really wanted to get to was check out the lesson. Here's an example of how they work in the key of E. And what I'm doing there is I'm at the 7th fret, playing notes out of what I would consider, what is pattern 5. Playing an E and an F sharp. Then I'm sliding that F sharp to G sharp. So that's notes 1, 2, and 3 of the pattern. Skips to note 5, which is now where my first finger is. This whole thing is done with 2 fingers. This one and this one. I can't do that. First finger and third finger. Fingers 1 to 3, sliding 3 up to the 11th fret. Then the 9th and 11th fret on the 4th string. Then the 9th and 11th fret on the 3rd string. Another E, F sharp, sliding that F sharp to G sharp. I'm now at the 13th fret, and now I have to shift my hand where my first finger comes in to the 12th fret. And I got all the way up to the E there. Here's my E major scale. Here's my E pentatonic scale. Okay, the song to mess with for this. Wait a minute. There we go. Blue Sky. And then a whole bunch of little harmony things. Some people call those double stops. I'm not a fan of that. If you, as you may have heard, if I've what's the word? I'm ranted about that before. But so Blue Sky is a great example of this pentatonic pattern used as the opening, and it runs through 3 different patterns. Starts with 2 notes out of pattern 5, slides up into pattern 6 for 3 strings, and on the 3rd string slides up into pattern 1. And then little embellishments that Dickey uses. Sliding up to the 12th fret, 14th fret, and then another little grace note sliding down from the 13th to the 11th on the G string, which would be our 3rd note, G sharp, back to our 2nd note, F sharp. Okay, so I think the tab I have to that in the lesson is slightly different. I sometimes have people play a bend there. Just to make it a little simpler instead of the grace note descending slide. Anyway, the song is really cool because another one of those little things in there. That's all in the lesson 2. Where I'm going with this is they eventually just get into a jam over 2 chords, E and A. This goes for like 2 minutes after they've sung a couple of verses and a chorus. And this is a great tune for you to practice your own solos just out of those notes. Just added a note that wasn't in the pattern. I used an A on the 2nd string at the 10th fret. Why is that okay? It's one of the missing notes. It's note 4. I'm playing chord 4. I got a whole bunch of A's in the harmony. Let's bring note 4 into the lead to make it a little more interesting. It'll add a lot of interest. That's like making it more interesting. Okay, I think that's it. I just want a little, I could elaborate on this a ton, but I really want to encourage you to mess around. If you're working on pentatonic scales, take a look at my lesson on Blue Sky. That's it. Now, when I'm improvising in E minor, to play something like Death Don't Have No Mercy, it's mostly an E minor pentatonic scale, but I do bring in a C because I have an A minor chord in there. It goes to D and G and B7. I gotta save the analysis of that one for another time. I'm just gonna mess around for a little while. Anyway, thanks for letting me indulge myself there and just don't take enough time to play the guitar and fool around. There you have it. I will be back next week.